Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:30 on the nose, and this is Lisa Parker with the MSU Alumni Association. Thank you for joining us today for our webcast presentation of how to find, keep, and grow your rockstar talent. We do have a number more individuals intending to join us today, but we're going to get started right on time so Sherry and Amanda can cover their full topic range with us today. This meeting is being recorded, so individuals will be able to access it at a later date. If you have questions during the cast, you are welcome to log them in the chat area, which appears on the left-hand side of your screen. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Amanda Dumond and Sherry Doody. They are Directors of Talent Initiatives and Talent Programs with Prima Civitas Foundation. Sherry and Amanda and I do a lot of collaborative work together on talent initiatives, and one pattern that we've noticed that we thought would be valuable to address with you all is the habit to build most of our talent strategy around what to do with our underperforming employees. We tend to know how to identify when they're not hitting their goals and what to do with them when a certain amount of time has passed and they haven't reached the point where we need them to be. But there's not as much focus given to those who are doing well. And do we have a plan in place for the individuals who actually exceed expectations so we don't lose those talented professionals along the way? And Amanda and Sherry are used to these conversations. They are, as I mentioned, affiliated with Prima Civitas Foundation. Prima Civitas is actually closely related to Michigan State. Our president helped with the naming of Prima Civitas, so we do enjoy frequent collaborative opportunities. Without further ado, Sherry and Amanda, I will.
Great. Thank you, Lisa, and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Just briefly about the Prima Civitas Foundation, we do focus on community and economic development. We are located in East Lansing, Michigan, but we have a statewide reach. We are a nonprofit, which is a non-governmental organization, which gives us a lot of freedom and flexibility to work with educational institutions, workforce development, economic development, governmental agencies, municipalities, etc. And we can move and have partnerships within those areas pretty quickly. So it's very helpful for us to be in that situation. A lot of what we do and with our project focuses are around creating jobs in Michigan and also improving the quality of life. And we do that through several different avenues. First, we work with businesses, companies from all different industries and types, and we help them to identify challenges and barriers that they're having, preventing them from finding talent or being able to grow or even just keep their doors open. So a lot of what we do is really to identify those challenges and bring together resources and opportunities for them. On the other side of that, in addition to just working with the businesses and the demand, we also have our hand on the pulse with a lot of job seekers all around the state. And you'll hear a little bit more throughout the presentation as to different initiatives and groups that we are involved in that give us great access to the talent that we have. So that way when businesses are at the point that they're starting to look to adding to their workforce or just need to bring somebody else in, we can help make some connections there. It's very helpful to be out in the community and do that. And again, we do a lot of that through partnerships with education, workforce development, and economic development. And those groups are very important to have as partners. As we go around the state and do our employer internship training sessions, we always ask the participants, who are typically new employers getting into the internship arena, we ask if they've ever been connected to academic institutions prior to that session. And 60% of the employers, that's 60% of the employers, say that they had not been connected to academia. So it's very important that as we continue to move forward to have that connection. So that's just a little bit about us. Through the services that we provide, we have developed what we call our talent team menu of services. And this is to help employers understand what it is that we do when we come into an organization. We never cold call companies. They reach out to us, but sometimes they're hesitant because they're sometimes can be territorial, or they're not sure what it is that we're going to be able to do to help them. So we developed this menu of services to show what it is that we'll do when we come in and sit down with you to do an assessment. Things that you can do to attract talent, build great place to work cultures, which you'll hear a little bit more from Sherry in a few moments, how to develop good people practices, and how to be legally compliant. Those are just some of the ways that we can assist businesses, and you can access that menu of services at any time.
I think it's important just to kind of lay the groundwork here and understand, as we have gone out and worked with a number of organizations, we hear time and time again about their struggles with trying to find talent to bring into their companies or organizations. And I think it's important at this point to have just a short understanding of my background. And I have actually was fortunate enough to work for an organization a few years back that also was struggling with finding talent back then. And we had a strong philosophy in the support of a lot of the leadership team and key executives in what we needed to do and how we had to transform ourselves to become what we refer to as a great place to work culture. And so a lot of the examples and a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, I actually have the proof, and there's evidence that if you can do some of these things within your company or your organization, you will start attracting the kind of talent that you all need in your organizations to carry out your mission and vision of your organization. And really where we like to start is with a lot of companies is talking with them and really identifying what is your employee value proposition. So what I mean by, and we'll refer to that employee proposition as EVP, that EVP is really a distinct fingerprint, or it's a distinct message that describes your company. So it may tie in the philosophy or the mission of your organization. It's going to take into consideration a number of key components that is important to a employee or a new employee to your organization. They want to know how you reward and how people are paid. Some organizations, it's important that they really talk about that EVP and their growth and the development. How do they grow their employees? How do they develop? Is there training programs? Because in this day and age, that is important to a lot of individuals thinking about joining an organization. And it's also, what is the ability within that company, that organization, that employee or potential employee is thinking about joining? How does that company meet that person's personal and family commitments? So really, when you're thinking about this EVP, it's very similar when you have a marketing department that's trying to market your organization. You, within human resources or within your company, have to think about what is your recruiting and marketing brand when it comes to recruiting new employees. So you really need to determine up front, what is your EVP? What is going to attract the employees to want to come work for your organization? But at the same time, it's also important to monitor what is your EVP of your competitors. What are they saying? What is their message? Because that's one area you want to keep your eye on, because they're the ones that are going to start attracting the talent either from you and or away from you, your current employee base. So those are things that you really want to focus on.
And that's very important. A lot of companies will think, as they're losing employees, that it comes down to $1 an hour, and it goes much further beyond that. It really comes down to those other components in the mission and vision of your organization.
So when we talk about EVP, I thought it was important that we talk about some of those companies that come to our mind when we think of that strong employee value proposition. So let's talk about GE, General Electric. When I think of them, what we've been told and we hear time and time again, their reputation is they are strong developers of their employees. They have strong training programs. They have a strong management trainee program. So again, they believe in developing their employees. So that is their EVP. Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they actually launch careers. They do a lot of work and hire a lot of college graduates. So that's really how they've developed their EVP and their marketing message. Same thing with Google. Google is known for their mission, their culture that they've established. They, give perks to employees, because they want their employees to come in and be relaxed, because when they're relaxed and in a comfortable environment, they're able to think more creatively, which they need to develop their products. Quicken Loans, again, they're also known for their creativity and that they listen to their employees. And not only do they listen, but they're going to take that information and they're going to react. And they're also known for developing and investing in their people. So the next area we'd like to hit on is preparing to find talent. And one of the things that we talk to a lot of companies and organizations about is, where do you start? And I think it's important for individuals to know that, there's a difference between recruiting versus hiring. And again, I've had several discussions, and, recruiting is something that you're always looking for the talent to join your organization. It's, actively looking, and you're actively recruiting not only new staff, but you also have to keep in mind you have to continually to recruit and keep satisfied those current employees that you have working for you. And we will talk as we move through this program more information to help you do that. But there are some additional ways, if some of you aren't doing this already, and I know that it's, we like to attract A players to our team. We have a lot of A players that currently work within our organizations. So what better place to go and to tap them and to ask them, who do you hang with? What friends do you have? What people do you know that might be able to come work for us who would be interested in working for our organizations? So institute some type of an employee referral program. Again, from my past experience, that generated a lot of good employees that joined the organization I worked for. So again, very, very strong program. Active networking. I think it's important to look at different ways that we can do this. It's not all about the number of candidates that hit our online systems and the applications and resumes filter in. What can we do as individuals to observe talent in action? And that goes to, a couple of groups that we're involved with that I'll let Amanda talk about.
It's really important to get beyond just the electronic systems and the internet to find the talent, and getting out and about and actually meeting with the talent that's available locally is very important. We, through Prima Civitas, just recently launched a job seeker strategy group where we are working with individuals who are in the midst of their job search to help them pull together the tools that they need to market themselves appropriately. Highly qualified, highly skilled, highly educated individuals. And we often like to invite or make aware to other employers who are looking for talent that we have this happening within our organization, so they know that they can connect with us and have an opportunity to come meet some of this talent that's available and ready to go. So I would encourage you to look out within your community or your surrounding areas to see what types of networking opportunities are out there for you to connect with this talent. So we do that here in East Lansing as a pilot program. And we also have in the state of Michigan, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation has a program called Michigan Shifting Gears. And this is taking, again, very highly skilled, highly educated, and talented individuals who are going through the midst of a career change, whether they went from working in high C-suite positions and now they want to transition more into program management, or they may want to go from working with larger corporations to joining a smaller business where they feel like they have more of a presence. And throughout that program, they get an opportunity to do an 80-hour pro bono internship with local businesses and small companies. So again, that's just another great initiative that you can get involved in to connect with this talent, and it would be mutually beneficial for both. So really just look out into your community. And like Sherry said, don't wait for the talent to come to you. Be out there and be aware of what's available and what skill sets people have. So that way, if you are in a position that you need to bring somebody in quickly and you don't have the ability to wait 3, 4, 5 months to bring somebody in, you know right who you can go to for some potential candidates. And also remember, it's not only the human resources responsibility to recruit. We also encourage to get your department leads out to different events where they can network and also help to identify some of that talent. And one other way that you can connect with talent is by connecting with your local alumni associations. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa so she can quickly mention how you can connect with Michigan State University's Alumni Association, who has access to nearly 500,000 alumni across the world.
Thanks for that, Amanda. The question that I get frequently from employers as the Director of Alumni Career and Business Services is, where can I put my job posting so that your alums can see it and apply to my job? And we do have various places where employers can tuck a job posting. We have My Spartan Career, which I'll put the link in the chat area. And we do have LinkedIn groups where some individuals get in and post a job. But I have to say that posting a job is really not the best way to find top talent. Most top talent would be what I would consider a passive candidate. They aren't specifically looking for a job. They're probably employed right now. And so relying on a job posting to get their attention is probably less effective than actually turning into more of a recruitment style, networking style initiative. So LinkedIn.com is what I would say our tool of choice. There is an alumni tool on LinkedIn.com that is a free tool. It does not require a premium account. All of you who have LinkedIn profiles, who have populated the education area of your LinkedIn profile, have direct access to the LinkedIn tool through your Contacts tab. Michigan State currently has 175,000 Spartans on the LinkedIn system. They've indicated so in their education portion of their profile. Through the LinkedIn alumni tool, you can actually see where these Spartans live, what companies they work for, what professions they're aligned with. And we recommend, and I will actually be doing a demo in the future for employers, because demoing the tool today would take our entire time. But we actually recommend that employers get their own staff, their own team members, their own stars out there networking with alums from the schools that they've graduated from. Because an HR professional contacting an individual for recruitment is okay. It's better if that HR professional is a fellow alum. If that HR professional is not an alum, I would definitely encourage that people find individuals in your staff who would be comfortable to use the LinkedIn group settings and alumni clubs of the organizations that they graduated from to reach out to alums. Michigan State also has, through our alumni.msu.edu, which is our website, a calendar of events for upcoming alumni events in your area. Getting some of your staff who are alums to attend some of those events may be a good idea. You can also see the local club contacts. Our presidents are listed in our clubs directory for each of our markets. So those are a few quick suggestions. I would also say, if you're looking to recruit soon-to-be graduates, taking a look at, and I'll include the link in our chat area, our directory of registered student organizations on campus might be helpful to you, because those are typically leaders, they're joiners, they're active individuals, and they're oftentimes participating in activities that are aligned with their professional interests. So I hope.
Great thoughts and ideas, Elisa. And just to kind of jump back onto that and talk about, using your staff to go out and recruit at, their former colleges or universities. Great idea. I would also suggest to arm them with some information, not only them, but key people within your organization. And this is one thing, like I said before, that we did in one of the places that I worked for, and was able to recruit a lot of really good individuals. And what a way to make people feel great is give the people who work for you, whether they're going to go to their college or universities or these key leadership members, some like business cards that have something or a message on there that maybe they were at a restaurant or maybe they went to a financial institution and they received some great service. And you're an organization that's looking for hiring great customer service or people with personalities. That leadership person can feel comfortable about reaching in their pocket, getting a card out, and this card says something to the effect that I work for such and such a company. I just received wow service and we're looking for people like you. Contact our human resources department or contact me at this number. And I'm going to tell you what, the success stories in the organization that I worked for was tremendous in giving people that ability to put that card out there to them. And I also wanted just for a minute to go back when we were talking about active networking and observing talent in action. I think this is so important to mention at this day and age because, we do have a number of very, very talented job seekers out there who, again, honestly, there's some stigma around people who are looking for jobs. A lot of times way back in the day, when people were eliminated from positions, it was due to they were the poor performers in the organization. And I'm going to tell you that that's not true anymore because we went through this downturn in our economy, specifically here in Michigan, and a lot of people, good people, were let go. And so if you as an employer are one of those that feel a little leery, then what a perfect way to see a person in action is by that active networking or be involved in some of these groups to see what they're all about. And do they, fit that stigma and they're a bad employee? I'm going to guarantee they're probably not.
And another way to see them in action is through developing an internship program. So this is a great way for you to create that talent pipeline. 2 weeks ago, we did an internship webinar where we walked through that process of building that program. And if you weren't a part of that one and you are interested, we have a toolkit available that has over 50 pages in it that walks you through the steps that you need to follow to build an internship program. And it also talks about resources that you can use for that recruiting piece. So we really encourage you to develop that internship program. Again, there's a 58% conversion rate from internships to full-time opportunities. So this is a good tool for you to use to identify that talent. And when we talk about interns, we're not just talking about the traditional 18 to 22-year-old college students. We also encourage a lot of our career changers, dislocated workers, etc., to do internships. So be very open when you're thinking about who those interns could potentially be. And you can access that toolkit on our website, and that link will be available to you at the end of the presentation. And similar to an internship program, you can also create a job shadow program. And a great way to start by working with building that culture that's in your organization and supporting that is to start with employees that you have and maybe their children, to bring them in to do job shadows and let them see what it is that their parents do and see if there's potential interest for them. So those are some different things that you can do to really start to create that pipeline.
So we talked really about different ways of how you can go about finding that talent, different ways in recruiting, and then starting to put programs into place to develop that consistent pipeline as you move forward. But I think it's also important that we have to reflect on for a few minutes and talk about, as you're getting ready to go out and find that talent, I can't say enough in how important it is to either create a job description, or if you have job descriptions in place, to really make sure that you're taking the time to review those job descriptions and update them and really understand and know the skill set that you're looking for. because a lot of times what has happened really, especially since 2008, is when we were getting inundated with a lot of resumes, applications, people were looking for jobs, is we started to put into job descriptions really what our ideal candidate would maybe have in order, in respect to a skill set. And so I think for some of us, maybe that got a little out of hand because we use that as a weeder. Now as that talent is getting a little bit more scarce, you know, when we're posting those jobs, I can't say enough and stress it is important that we go back and revisit to make sure that we are looking for that right skill set and we don't have what I would refer to a skill set creep. And again, adding things in there that necessarily don't need to be there, and just again making sure that we're watching that closely.
And one area that we see that a lot lies within the education requirements. And we got to a point that there were so many job seekers out there that companies felt that they could offer low wages and expect the top requirements and get the talent that they needed. So what they all started to do was to add bachelor's degree required for every single position. And when you really sit down and look at the skill sets, they really don't need a bachelor's degree. They may just need experience or a certificate and not necessarily that bachelor's degree. So again, that's just an example of something that tends to be on there that doesn't necessarily need to be.
So again, you know, we were out there, we're recruiting, we're looking at our job descriptions, and so the next step is really, you know, leading an effective interview. And again, I'm sure a lot of you that are listening today have interviewed and are very good interviewers, but again, just pointing out some things that I think are very important, and that is, you know, when you're going into that interview, a lot of times we get caught up in our busy day and we might not always be able to prepare like we should or need to, but making sure that we are taking time to plan and be prepared, and making sure that we're asking the right questions in order to find the candidate that has the best fit. And what I'm going to say is really, I think the best approach to do is put somebody at ease. And instead of always asking those, you know, really strict questions within the interview, is I know I always learn more from a candidate, and man, you can really learn some interesting things when you engage with them in a very open dialogue or open discussion. They'll tell you things that maybe you really don't want to hear, but they might be helpful because you're not asking all those, you know, really tight-ended questions. So just something to be sure of, because you really want to get them to open up so you can see if they're going to fit that culture. Very, very important. We also want to really hit on what we hear from a lot of candidates is a lot of assessments that candidates are having to take this day and age. And again, it's trying to find out if we have the right candidate. But as we all know, there's different type of assessments. There's the personality assessment, and there is an aptitude test that some organizations require. And we've run into a lot of candidates recently that, you know, they're taking these aptitude tests and they're interviewing for a customer service rep. But the test they're having to take is full of algebra problems. And really, does a customer service rep really need to know how to do those algebra problems? And they are coming to you with great experience. We're weeding a lot of those people out.
There are different ways to get information to determine if they can go through the process of elimination and be able to figure things out quickly, but having them do algebraic equations and exercises may not be appropriate for the position that they're going to be in, especially for people, like Sherry said, if they've already have 20, 30 years experience of doing that. They may look at these algebra questions and just get frustrated and shut down, and so you really could be missing out on some high-level talent. There are a couple different profiles and assessments that you can use if you don't currently have any in place. So rather than defaulting to, you know, coming up with these algebra questions, Sherry can talk about a couple options that you may be able to look into.
Again, I am a strong supporter of more personality assessments used in companies and organizations to see if that person is a good fit. Because a lot of times, people are coming to you with a strong track record of experiences. And two of the strong talent one or personality ones that I've used in the past is the DISC, because you're really finding out what strong characteristics that person has. Are they good with sales? Are they good analytically? So those are the things that you really want to know about as you're hiring a person, and if they're going to fit that culture. There's also another one that some of you may be familiar with. It's called profiles. And again, that is one, both that and the DISC. You talk about as we go forward and what you do with that information. Those are two assessments that you can take that information, and if you decide to hire that person, that you're going to be able to give them some good development information, and the manager is going to be able to use these tools in ways to help mentor and grow that individual into your organization to be a successful employee.
And one thing to really think about, that as you're preparing and pulling together what assessments you're going to be using, and you're doing your preparation for the interview process as far as what questions you're going to ask and how you're going to respond, one thing that you really need to make clear to the candidates is what are the expectations for follow-up. If you know that this is going to be a 3 to 5 month process, make that clear to them as they come in. If it's going to be a quicker turnaround, really communicate that information, because again, you're talking about branding your organization, and we hear on a daily basis of individuals who have interviewed with companies and they don't hear back from them, sometimes ever, or sometimes it could be months down the line, and by then they have lost interest, they've been turned off, or they secure another position.
So with that, as we talk about continuing to build that strong brand, again, we talked at the beginning of the presentation of building that employee value proposition. What better way to do it? And I guess I want to say here, be careful, because we're building a brand not only to recruit, but a lot of the organizations that we represent and work for are either selling a product or a service. And so those people that we have been interviewing throughout our process are also consumers who might be utilizing our product. So again, building that strong EVP and building the strong brand for our organization it's so important. And we have gotten very poor at it, I think. I shouldn't put everybody in that category, but we are, I think, slipping in that category where we're not communicating with individuals and letting them know that we've offered the position to somebody else, and again, just saying that we filled the position, and making sure that our top candidates maybe have a little bit more personal follow-up and personal communication.
And with that, we call that a no thank you letter instead of a rejection letter. So to let people know that they have not been selected, it's giving them something back. You don't have to go into a lot of detail. In that internship toolkit that I referred to, we have a sample letter, no thank you letter in there that you can use as a guideline or a basis for your organization.
So you've gone through the steps. You've developed your brand. You know what type of employee that you're looking for. You know the skill set. You've spent the time, the effort, the energy, probably not only you as an individual, but others within your organization. And so you found that talent. Now what's going to happen is you have got to continue to build that excitement for that individual. So a lot of times we know that we may make an offer today, and that person may not start for another 3 to 4 weeks. So again, really having ongoing communication, send some notes. We're excited to have you as part of the team. I know, again, that there's dollars that go into this, and we've all tried to cut back, but when you can, if you can send some company logoed, like a pen, a shirt, anything like that, just to get them excited and continue to make them feel that they made the right decision by joining your organization, and they're excited about me coming to work that first day. So very, very important. Also, it's very, very important to create that successful relationship day one. So that person, we spend all this time and all this energy, like I just said, on finding this person. We find that perfect person, that perfect fit, and we think our job is done. And, sometimes we want to walk away from that. But oh no, I think the work really just begins. And that is, we have got to welcome that person into the organization with a strong orientation. I like to use the word onboarding because onboarding is more of an ongoing program, where orientation feels like it's for 1 or 2 days and it's done. And there is statistics that will tell us that there is very, very high turnover for new hires within the first 3 to 6 months. And for senior level employees, it can be up to a year. So what we want to do is try to reduce that, and how we can do that is through these successful onboarding programs. Make sure that day one we're prepared for that new employee. Let's make sure that we have their business cards ready to go. We want to make sure that they know what the company's mission and vision is, and how they, as an employee in their new role, is going to impact that. How are they going to make a difference for your organization? And making sure that they have the tools that they can sit down and do their job. So making sure that they have an email already, making sure that they have their computer systems. Those are all very, very important. And they're going to be eager, and they need to get as acclimated and as comfortable in that new setting as quickly as possible, so we start reducing that 3 to 6 month high turnover rate. And a lot of times what I like to see is have mentors assigned to that person, just having them touch base with it. And sometimes it even goes outside of what's happening in your organization. It's important that they know, especially if they're new to the community, what's around them. Where do people typically go to, for lunch? Covering those little things will make a huge impact on that employee and a huge impression. I think it's important, like we've been saying all along, we spend a lot of money up front and think that once this employee joins and we get them through orientation, that the work is done. And I'm going to refer to it as, when we hire a new employee, it is not any different than going out and buying a new car. So if you buy a new car, it looks pretty and beautiful, and most people want to keep it that way. And so if you keep paying attention to the employees that are joining your organization, this is what your car is going to continue to look like. If that employee joins and you don't give them any attention at all, over time, they're going to start looking like this car. So again, it's along the same lines, is you've got to put time and money and energy into something to keep it looking new and keep them renewed into the job that they're going to be doing for your organization. We talk a lot about communication and making sure, especially Generation Y, that these employees in Generation Y know what is expected of them, and making sure that we're communicating with them along the way. And this is one program that I would say that I truly have experience working with, and it made quite an impact and impression in the organization that I worked for. But I also have to tell you that a lot of feedback that comes from managers takes a lot of time. People take time to manage. And what you want to do up front is provide them with a 30, 60, 90-day expectations. And there is a form that actually, I don't know what happened, isn't showing up the best on our slide, so I apologize for that. But this is a progress review form. It's a 30, 60, 90-day. And really what it is, you're listing up front as that employee joins the organization, that this is what is expected of you. This is what you should be able to do, pick up, and learn within that first 30 days. A person is given this document, and they have it, and in each of those lines, they're able to monitor their own progress along the way. And then, at that 30-day interval, the manager will sit down, manager and or mentor will sit down with them and review their progress with them. And they can either establish the 60 and the 90 day at the time of hire, or a lot of times what will happen is employers choose to do that at the 30-day review. They'll set the next 30 day, which is the 60 day. But also after that 30 and 60, 90 day expectation is there's continual feedback that needs to occur. And what we found in the organization that I worked for, we created what we refer to as a monthly accountability. That a monthly accountability was an opportunity, because let's face it, we all get busy, but that monthly accountability gave us the opportunity to sit down with our manager with the written report that was developed by the person that was writing it, and just giving them updates on how they were managing towards goals. Were they having any issues? If they were having any roadblocks, what could the manager do for them? And so it was really self-directed by the employee, but again, a lot of good performance dialogue, which the managers loved, because what happened when it came to the annual review, which let's face it, annual reviews are important, but sometimes they can be a pain in the bottom for us as managers, because I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, sometimes remembering what happened 9 months ago that an employee did. But if I have these monthly accountability reports, I'm able to go back and say, oh, they accomplished this, I forgot about that. So at the same time, it's helping me prepare that annual review. But what it also does on the monthly accountability, the monthly meeting time frame, is we all get so really deep into our jobs that we forget what we accomplish on a regular basis. And what a way to support and to make me remember as an individual writing it, but as the manager receiving it, oh my God, that person accomplished so much this month. And it's a time to recognize that and give that kudos as well.
And the important part about the monthly accountability and the annual reviews and maintaining your workforce is that it really shows that you are recognizing what their skill sets are and what they can bring to the table. And that can really help you when it comes down to adding a new position and determining whether you can promote from within or if you have to go outside of the organization. And I can tell you, having come from manufacturing and working for a company that we stopped doing this, we weren't doing the annual reviews, the monthly accountability, that process had stopped because we had just reached a very trying times where management was just stressed and didn't have the time. But that part stopped, and then as we needed to add positions, they would automatically go to the outside. And the environment that was created with the employees inside that organization was not a good environment. So this can really just kind of help, keep people motivated and on board.
So how do we continue to nurture those relationships? And I think really that nurturing comes through in an organization, and the ones that I've seen that have been very successful are those that have very, very strong communication programs. So the one that came to my mind is, I always thought it was kind of funny when I was in human resources, and we always kind of waited to the end to find out why people were leaving. And it's kind of like, why are we waiting? Why don't we ask them earlier on or at different intervals, because we can fix a problem and maybe prevent that really good employee from leaving. Maybe it was because they wanted to make more money, or maybe it was something else that was bothering them. So we started to instill employee focus groups. But I'm going to caution, when you start employee focus groups, you learn a lot of great things. But you got to set the groundwork for your employees that you want to know what's going on in your organization. How are employees feeling? What's going right? What's going wrong? But at the same time, they need to understand, just as you want to listen, the reality is you're not going to be able to solve or fix everything that they want to see done. But sometimes in the organizations I've worked for, what we found through those employee focus group processes is sometimes it was just an understanding, or somebody took the time to explain them why something is done the way it is. Why was a policy written that way? And once you can explain that to an employee, they feel a lot better about it. And now it's like, I get it. I'm not as upset about that anymore.
And I just want to mention one thing on the don't ask if you won't act. And Lisa noted on there that she even sees that with alumni looking for new opportunities. But again, when I was in manufacturing, there was a box out on the floor, a suggestion box for continuous improvement or ideas. And when they first put that box out there, so many employees out on the floor were constantly submitting ideas into that box, and ideas that really could have saved the company tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what started to happen is those employees who had those great ideas began to realize that those suggestions never came out of the box. And then when you walk by the box, there's cobwebs grown over it. So what happened naturally is that they stopped. And they stopped taking that initiative to identify the issues and potential solutions. They just kind of gave up. So it really is important that if you are going to ask for that information, that you do something with it.
And make sure that you are communicating outward any outcomes that you're going to be taking. And so sometimes what you do is you give a little bit more detail from that focus group, from the individuals you invited. So you may give them a written report and then a bigger report out to the organization of some changes that you are making due to the feedback that you've received through employee focus groups. Another area or program that's set up for communication is doing monthly state of the company meetings. So again, this can be done if you have a lot of offices. It can be done through the telephone, or it can be done like a webinar like we're doing today. And that's just giving a status of where the organization is making progress, whether it is on a new mission and vision, whether it is on goals for the organization. It's keeping your employees feeling engaged and feeling that they know what's going on in your organization. Your organization is theirs, and they want to know what's going on, and they want that sense of belonging and being a part of an organization and really understanding what's going on within our organization. Why are they making these decisions? Taking the time to communicate up front rather than waiting until everybody's unhappy about something, then running and doing your communication.
And I can say that's very important, especially if you are dealing with any type of merger or acquisition, whether it's merging together departments or different companies. Having gone through that through 2 different acquisitions and mergers within manufacturing, what would happen is the people on the floor could sense that something was going on, but they just assumed that their positions would end up being eliminated and that they were going to be out of a job. So what happened was they started to jump ship, not realizing that we were just being purchased by another company, but everybody's jobs were staying intact. So from that miscommunication and not being transparent, we lost a lot of high-level talent that we had in the company.
So how do you keep your competitive edge? It's like we have to keep pace with the market. We don't want to lose the employees that are making a difference, that are making an impact in our organization. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't necessarily always come down to pay, but that is part of the formula. So I would say you've got to make sure that you're monitoring your competition on a regular basis and making sure that you're keeping up, and reward people for the value that they bring to the organization. And again, understanding why you're making changes to the total rewards package. So if you're making if you have pay ranges and you're increasing it every year to keep pace up, make sure that they know this. If you're changing things to your benefit programs, explain to them and have them understand why you're making those, and even better, show them and highlight the plan and how your program internally maybe relates to the competition. I think it's fair for them to know that, because a lot of times when people are making a decision to leave, they're thinking it's always greener, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, but it may not be if we take the time to explain some of these things and stacking up and showing them where they stack up to the competition. So I think it's always important.
Yeah, that's very helpful to identify and put some numbers around the benefits package too, especially if you're working with people that this is their first real job and they're considering going somewhere else. They don't understand that cost that the company is picking up for benefits and the Social Security and payroll taxes, those things. They don't take into consideration those as they're thinking about making their move.
And again, when, especially very, very important, there are a lot of positions right now that are in very high demand, some in the IT arena. And these are areas that you do not want to pay under market. You want to make sure you're paying at or even above to maintain that competition, or to keep that talent. One area, and again, when we talk about these great places to work, they don't have to cost a lot of money, or you can create a program where you do have some dollars, or build in some dollars for some of these programs. And I would say, whenever you can, small tokens of appreciation to your employees. That can be as simple as, a thank you note. I saw you in action today. I just wanted to let you know you did a bang-up job. That sometimes is worth so much to an individual to hear that. Other things can be, I remember from the organization that I worked for that I was telling you about, on St. Patrick's Day, again, we were probably 500 employees. We gave everybody a cutout shamrock cookie. We ordered them from a company and gave them a little note. And we related it to St. Patrick's Day, but how they were very important to us as an employee, and without them, we wouldn't be there as an organization. And the overwhelming response that we got, like, oh, we've never had anything like that. It was just so worth it. And so those are the things that you can really make a difference when you can do those little things. Again, we talked a lot about those employee focus groups. Ask your employees, ask them while they're employed for us, not when they're walking out the door. We can keep the talent if we're asking and keeping them engaged into our organization. Always look for value in your current employees and help them grow. This is a big one where a lot of us, because of the poor economy, our bottom lines were hit. The first thing that we cut was training. And employees are thirsty for knowledge. They want to continue to learn. They want to continue to better themselves so they can help better the organization. So if this is an area we don't have to cut, I suggest don't do it, and let's grow those and develop those employees into our future leaders of tomorrow.
And that's where the partnerships with your local workforce development comes in handy also, because if you don't have a budget for training, you can work with your local workforce development to see what kind of training programs they have available, and often there may even be some funding associated with that to help support that. So really get out there and find out what's available to help with that piece.
And I would say, I'm just kind of looking at some of the chat discussion that is going on, and someone did highlight that a lot of times we spend a lot of our time and effort on those employees in the organization that may not be performing. Again, we have to do that, but because of that, we forget about those that are making things happen within our organization. So that small appreciation and calling them out and recognizing them is so important, and making them feel that they're not being punished and taking on extra work, but giving them the recognition for it, and when we can, giving them the dollars that they deserve for doing that.
And also just to remember the internships and job shadow programs. We've seen such an increase in employers inquiring about how to develop internship programs over the last 2 years. And if that's an area that you are not focusing on, you're really kind of missing the boat there. But it's not too late. There are resources and tools available to help you with that. And again, you can contact myself or Sherry at any time, and we can help you with that component.
And again, I just want to say that when we talked about all of these things today, I am, talking from experience, and I had the good fortune, as I said earlier, to work for an organization that we had that great place to work philosophy. We were recognized by Fortune and Working Mother. And by doing some of these things, and you can really create that EVP and say that you're doing these things. And I'm going to tell you what happens after that is you will get a steady flow of interest by the right candidates that you want for your organization. And again, we were on list, and when we hit those lists or made them, we were getting 25, 30, 40, 50,000 resumes after that list hit. But again, we had to sort through those, but I would rather be in that situation than struggling to find the talent. So invest.
And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Lisa for a moment. I believe she has a few things that she'd like to discuss, and then we'll open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in, and we'll address them. And
Thanks, Amanda. Just real quick, first of all, thank you for going through this presentation with us and sitting here watching the content and watching the chat conversations. It just takes me back to this feeling that I encounter often when working with experienced and talented professionals. We've got this culture now, and it's because we're so busy, where our successful employees or our top-notch job applicants who are coming at us perhaps overqualified are a problem. And when you think about it, that doesn't make sense. That shouldn't make sense. For example, we say we want employees who, if we ask them to take on something new because it's necessary, we don't want them to respond, well, that's not in my job description. So we want people who are innovative and willing to just really look for how they can be valuable. Yet, what are we saying to employees who perhaps have outgrown their role quickly or identify other things that they could do for the good of the order? Too often what we're saying is, yeah, but that's not in your job description. So you see the inconsistency there. We have challenges with managers because their top performer, the successful person, this person who knows technology better than they anticipated, works through their workload quickly and is bored and is constantly knocking on their door, what can I do for you now? What can I do for you now? So they're not sitting and doing nothing in the time that they're on the clock. It's a problem we got to be aware of because we don't have a plan. We have a plan, as I mentioned in the beginning, for those individuals who don't perform well in those first 3, 6, or 9 months. But do we really have a plan? Can we sit back and say, what if this new hire really hits the ball out of the park? What if this person just plows through the work and we realize that their capacity is twice what we initially anticipated? Can we look at that as an exciting situation, as an awesome hire, as an opportunity to grow and innovate, instead of as, oh, drats, now what do we do? And I'll take you back to the very beginning of recruiting top talent. There are often times when our job descriptions and our pay rates are based on anticipating an average hire. We're anticipating somebody who's probably not going to knock the ball out of the park. So we're meeting a lot of talented professionals and saying, I'm sorry, but you're overqualified. And I want you to really think about that message and what it means. Overqualified to a job seeker should not be an insult. Overqualified to an employer should not necessarily be a no. It could be a time to think about, what else could I be considering in terms of using this person to do? how might they be able to serve our organization in a bigger way than we thought we could achieve at this moment? So that's just my take on some of this. And I'm seeing some questions popping in. Kathy, Lisa, are you referring to me with your last statement? I don't know if I'm referring to you, Kathy, but just it's specifics in terms of really just wanting to see people having an open mind about the type of talent that you're interacting with and being excited when you get great people. When great people are saying, I want to work for you, finding a way to make sure that those great people can get into the system, can be interviewed by your team, and can have a successful planned path in your organization. So Amanda and Sherry, I'm going to turn that back.
Great. Yeah, we do a lot of work with organizations who are struggling from a capacity standpoint, or they're just not sure how to determine what that process and system needs to look like. So with that, I just want to reiterate that we do have services that we can help you with, and so it doesn't take anything for you to call us. We can talk through some things, or we can you can reach out to us individually, and we can have some sidebar conversations about that. So with that, do we have any other questions? I know Kara asked if the presentation will be available, and Lisa said yes, this has been recorded. But if we don't have any other questions, we will just leave it at that, and you have our contact information. And again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.